All right, welcome in everybody. It is Line Breakers FC. We are live on a Tuesday because we have the Euro 2020 fever. AJ and Joey B are fucking killing it. Both 2-0 sweeps plus 2 units to kick it off. I went 1-2 and dropped a unit. It is what it is. We'll recap those once we get into our best bets. As usual, the show is brought to you by thebreakdownsports.com. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Joey B, he's moving up to the New York City today, so he'll be pretty close to me. Maybe we'll get some in-person live Line Breakers FC. Joey B or AJ staying all the way out on the West Coast, so he gets left out of this. But AJ, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am feeling freaking electric. Like you said, Joey B and I swept. The Euros have had some great games, and I'm excited to dive into another week of it.
Yes, sir. So we'll recap what we saw real quick. Then we'll preview 2 matches, and then we'll talk about some futures that we're potentially looking at, not playing. And then, as usual, we'll cap it off with our best bets. So let's just stick with it. France versus Germany. That match, I would have to say, I don't want to say it was fishy, but it being played in Germany, and both of the VARs were technically correct, but that is a huge saving grace for Germany, who I think this is one of the weakest teams that we've seen from Germany in a very long time. During their first game, sure, they had France, so you might have to take that with a grain of salt. That could potentially be rough there, but this team just did not convince me whatsoever. They had majority of the ball and the chances, but France's back line was just that strong. So I'm not shocked that they weren't able to put one in the back of the net, but I don't think they ended the game with any shots on target. Maybe they ended up getting one extremely late, but no shots on target from this German side. They just didn't resound any confidence where we said this was like their ultimate season with Lowe last season. What's he going to potentially do? And it was just less than impressive. They got a tough match coming up. We'll definitely be getting into that one as that's the top one coming up on Saturday. But France, Germany, thoughts? What did you see?
I think we nailed it on the head, where in our previous stream we talked about how Germany would most likely be the weakest out of the 3 in this group of death. Today it showed France played however they wanted, which was sit back. Germany couldn't break them down. And like you said, it's just surprising. I look at the names on the squad, and all of them are either on a world-class team, won many trophies, been there, done that before, but it just seems right now is not Germany's time. So I'm looking forward to see how they respond this week against Portugal.
And I don't think it's going to be too strong, but make sure you stick in for the end of that. For this France side, do they just play a long ball anytime to Mbappe if he has any bit of space in front of him on that right wing? That was unreal. Just his speed. I think it easily caused one of the offsides, but still, that was unreal what we saw from him today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame. When you have someone like Pogba who could ping a pass like that to Mbappe with arguably like one of the fastest players in the world, why not just hoof it up to him, right?
It was the unreal speed there. But Mbappe, let's see you play on not a world-class team. Let's see how you do when you don't have all of the supporting cast. And then the other thing we said about this France team is what type of Pogba we're going to get. I mean, the man should have 3 assists today. I don't think he would get an MLS assist for the first one, but he completely played that switch all the way to the left wing there that set up the cross. On the second goal, he did the same exact play. Mbappe was just barely offsides, but played another crossing ball. And then the third one was unreal. I don't know if he didn't spin or if he was just I can't really hate him on that turn because it was still world class. But if he was able to do it even a little bit smoother, I think Mbappe's onside, and that was the perfectly weighted ball through there. So it's just with I think you said it, where he just has Conte next to him, and he can just go do whatever he wants to do and just ball out. I was just extremely impressed what we saw from him, and if he's clicking like this the whole tournament, especially against a strong German midfield, I mean, this France side, we'll get into their odds, but they dropped to plus 390. That still looks like almost a steal.
Yeah, agreed. And we talked about it, how France is built for Pogba. And like you mentioned, Conte there, so Pogba is very free to roam. You have runners ahead that he can ping balls to. There's some flair. They get wins. Everything Pogba's looking for in an international side.
Did Rudiger bite him?
Dude, I don't know. I saw that replay. I feel like it was like a little nibble, maybe. Not a full Luis Suarez bite, though.
He definitely bit him. That's hard. You saw everything with it. That was strange how they didn't go back and get there. And then Kimmich, he got pretty lucky that he never picked up a second yellow there. He was playing pretty tough the whole match, great player. Really enjoyed watching him play, but he could have easily been missing this next match.
I agree. They had some leniency on Kimmich because he got the early yellow, and then after a couple of questionable tackles, I think the ref let him off a little bit easy.
And then lastly, how great was the full house in Budapest? Even though Hungary for like the first 80 minutes, that crowd was rocking, but it ended up getting quiet, but that was so loud. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think it was 67,000 people packed into Budapest, so it was electric, and it feels great to be back.
Yes, sir. So that's the group of death. We'll definitely get into the match coming up there. So let's talk about maybe our worst performance or most disappointed. You can take it either way you want to. And I just have to say, probably the most disappointing performance I saw was from the Ukraine. They just got killed on their left back. The Netherlands had the perfect scouting report, just constantly put pressure up there, just make him play. It was kind of not as much as the Mbappe, but everything from their first 2 goals came from there. Then second, you had 2 not world class, but 2 filthy goals to tie up the match. Mm-hmm. And the last one it was just a terrible clearance from the keeper. The Ukraine looked like they're done, come back with 2 amazing goals. And that's that we knew that the Shakhtar Donetsk and the rest of the Ukraine players team was going to show up and show the fight there. It's just them not pulling out the points there. I think it's a big hit just because the Ukraine, they're still looking easy to go through, but pulling off all that draw against the Netherlands would have been huge, where they ended up dropping it all, and it is what it is with them. But I would just have to say I was most disappointed to see them blow it late, just because the third goal was just mental errors, and it should have never gotten into that spot.
Mm-hmm. And I think I saw a lot of the public on Twitter in Ukraine, so I think a lot of a lot of people definitely had high hopes for the Ukraine. For me, the most disappointing team had to be England. I don't know. They just come out there. It's just flat. I think Foden had 2 chances, really. Nothing exciting. I mean, you're in the Euros. You have your best squad, arguably, for a really long time. You're playing at home, and you put out a performance like that. So I am quite disappointed in England.
You're not impressed by Croatia?
Okay, well, on the flip side, Croatia did defend like hell, and they were very well drilled, everything that you expect from a Croatian side. So I guess that is the flip side of it.
I think with the England side I had to watch the first half in the Uber, so that was a lot of fun. Then I ended up catching the full second half, but it just seems like an extremely safe side that didn't try to do too much at once. They broke through and got their chances. I think it was more into them just lacking the finishing quality or the finishing part of that match, because that could have easily been a 3-0 blowout if they got a little bit more to get through. But I just think they felt all right because they controlled the whole match. Croatia didn't really have that many dangerous chances, but I think it just played into exactly how Croatia wanted that match. They got out only down 1-0. I mean, if England lost at home there, that would have been real bad, or even didn't pull out the draw. But let's just get right into it with the match against Scotland. This is going to be electric. The odds are huge on this one. So, I mean, I really was trying to find a way or any type of argument to back Scotland on the plus 1.5 Asian handicap, but there's just not much to it. Their money line sitting at plus 871. England sitting all the way at minus 303. The over 2.5 is each way. So I guess that could be the potential way you play this match. But this is the first group stage, I think, showed that live betting is going to be the way to go there. But I think that's going to quickly fall off the trend where we saw not many first half goals, only 7 throughout the first 12 matches, 21 in the second half. So that's extremely more. But just from this type of match where Scotland, we've seen three teams attempt to do the 4-4-2 low block. We
Mhm.
saw Turkey do it, and it just completely for a half and then completely imploded in the second half. We then saw Sweden do it to perfection against Spain and just mind boggle the shit out of them. Then the third one, we saw Hungary do it for 83 minutes. And then once just that first one goes in that 4-4-2 low block, it's how do they reply and usually the goals start flowing after that. So this is exactly where I think how long is Scotland going to be able to withstand that pressure? They could potentially take some things from that Croatia match, which showed strong and which side they're going to really press up from England. But I just think England's going to be able to from the latter two of the matches where they just completely relied on the wing. Spain was just constantly on the wing, crossing it in time after time. We saw Portugal finally get the goal when they started to play a little bit more up the middle, but Hungary's defense was just built and it just wore out that point. Scotland's midfield, I just don't think that they'll be able to last as long as Hungary's midfield did and just withstanding the pressure from England. So I think Scotland ends up breaking a little bit earlier, but I do think that both teams to score here could be the way that if I'm dying for action on this game come later in the week, that might be the route I go.
So regarding England-Scotland, so you think even with England's defensive nature, Gareth Southgate, him just putting a defensive squad out, everything like that, you think Scotland breaks through England?
I mean, I'm still not completely sold, and I was really hoping Croatia got one through because that would have made me feel a little bit more confident in that. But maybe this is where I'm getting the better price because the both teams to score is sitting at my book somewhere at plus 150. The other one I have is plus 138. So I just think this is where Scotland's going to go all out no matter what. I don't have any money on the both teams to score yet here. Just because how slow the matches start, I think you could definitely get a better price 15 minutes in on that. But I definitely think Scotland does find the back of the net here in this one.
Yeah, so I actually have a play on the total that I'll be speaking about more on later. But everything Rex said does make sense. I'm not going to go against what you have to say.
All right, so we saw teams have home matches, and they all worked out really well until today, and then both home sides lost. And now this is where I think the price is factored into this one a little bit because Belgium's sitting at plus 105. You have Denmark sitting at plus 316. You have the over-under sitting at 2 and 2.25. So this one is a complete just stay away game for me here. We saw Belgium just route Russia and St. Petersburg. So this team looks to be clicking, and Lukaku's just killing it out there. Obviously, warned you about that was going to happen. But here with Denmark, I mean, I think they're going to come out flying and motivated here because they definitely want to get a result at home. So that's just kind of where I don't want to get into the Eriksen part. I'm so glad that he's doing all right, but he's the main part of that offense there. And that's just where Belgium's sitting at plus money. Yes, I know it's short. I don't know if that's going to be the public play of the week or the day. I don't know what it is, but I think Daryl likes to use this term. The book's telling you something when I think it's going to know it's going to get this much action on a Belgium price at plus 105, unless that much money just truly came in on Denmark. Because the way Denmark played against Finland in the second half, they did draw the PK. They had their chances to get the goal, but I just complete stay away game for me here. What do you see in this one?
I don't have a play on this game, but I also agree where Belgium looked very, very, very good against Russia. Like you said, Lukaku is starting. I think he had a brace, if I'm not mistaken. So he's flying high. He's flying high. Belgium are obviously one of the favorites. And it's always hard to cap a game after something as emotional that did happen with with Denmark, pardon me. And for all those different reasons, I do agree it is a stay away. But Belgium at plus money on the road qualifies on the Rex scale as somewhat fishy rat, somewhere along there.
Yeah, definitely fishy. It's not a ratty line. If that was like plus 125 or if it gets there, then yes, that's hook, line, and sinker. But I do think this will be your public play, other than a few parlays that we could potentially get into, because I think you'll see Italy, I think you'll see Russia, and I think you'll see the Netherlands, and all sort of parlays, have it be cross sport, have it be not. All the teams are set at between like minus 150 to minus 179. I can't really knock any of them, because when we're going to get into some potential futures we're looking at, there's some weird things out there, but I think those are your three most likely people that you'll see on Twitter with the public plays, because we love roasting the public plays here.
I mean, there is a reason why Vegas has big buildings, and it's not because the public is always winning.
All right, so let's talk about some futures on the board real quick before we get into our best bets. So Poland, they took the biggest hit of group stage 1, where they're sitting at to advance at plus 250. Pre-tourney, they're sitting at the no at plus 400. So that was a huge swing in price. And that was one thing that we were talking about, was this Poland side was completely reliant on someone trying to get the ball to Lewandowski, and who the hell was going to do it? We saw in that match, it wasn't really possible with Slovakia not controlling it, but just basically gave Lewandowski zero good chances. So at plus 250 in that group, it's not the worst, but I'm not, by no means am I rushing to that, because they have one of the worst travel spots. And I believe Spain is sitting at like minus 275 or minus 300 this weekend. They play on Saturday. So it's not looking too hot, looking like Poland could potentially be goalless going into match day 3.
Yeah, and sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but I do think it's going to come down to that match day 3 against Sweden and Poland for that third spot. And just shout out Rex, who hyped up Slovakia, and they did pull through on match day 1.
Yes, sir. So what I might think is the most interesting group, which is in the group of death, is the one with Finland, Belgium, Russia, and Denmark remaining, because Finland at their no to advance is plus 170, and I didn't think they were going to get any points out of this group. But obviously getting 3 definitely puts you in the driver's seat for one of the thirds to advance. And especially since we're counting they just basically have a big match this weekend, and that plus 170 is extremely enticing, because the way I wanted to potentially attack this was take Russia to advance at minus 118, because essentially I need them to get 3 points there. That's reducing the juice from minus 160 to about minus 118 on this match. But I mean, and it's in St. Petersburg too. So I just think everything's going against Finland, and I believe this is the 9 a.m. match tomorrow. And if I'm playing it, it's going to be Russia to advance at minus 118. But there is a solid half hour of me just trying to convince myself to play Finland. And ultimately, we couldn't do it.
So go over again. Why would you play Russia to advance and Finland to not advance?
Just because I think Finland could get the third spot with 3 points. Because I think the fourth one there could be a team that doesn't potentially have a win. Unless it works out where the groups are just eating each other that way. But usually it comes down to that last spot usually does have less than 3 points, or they got 3 points through draws.
Perfect.
All right, Golden Boot, Lukaku holds a nice lead there. How are you feeling about your futures that you placed there? Because didn't you play a Golden Boot future? Because I think you got VAR'd twice from it.
Yeah, so I did play Kylian Mbappe, Golden Boot winner. 2 trains of thought on that is I think they got one of the hardest matches that they'll play out of the way already. We saw how France played today. I think they're also going to go pretty deep. So he's going to have plenty more opportunities. But yeah, Ronaldo with 2 today, Lukaku with 2 over the weekend. So those are your leaders.
And Mbappe is now sitting at plus 1,700. So that might be where the way that you just explained it there, that could potentially entice me into a Taco Bell run playing there, even though Lukaku's sitting at the heavy favorite. Man, this sun just keeps going crazy in my apartment right now. Still went bright yellow. Now I'm dark.
What odds do you have on Lukaku and Ronaldo right now?
Plus 225 for Lukaku, plus 400 for Ronaldo, then Kane's plus 1,300.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with those odds. Obviously, Portugal has France and Germany coming up, so I do believe goals might be a little tough to find in those matches, while France is going to make a deep run, and then also they have Hungary, which I expect a smashing.
And then overall outright winner before we get into our best bets. France was really the only team that saw, I mean, there was small decreases in your top teams, but France only dropped to plus 390. We hinted on that earlier. I mean, if you want to get a France future in now, you missed, I think it was like plus 460 tournament. So I can argue you didn't really miss that much value. You saw off not their toughest match because of Portugal on the last one, but they'll be looking like they have 6 easy points going into that one. So, I mean, that plus 390 is very hard for me not to be playing that one there. England dropped a little bit, but fade them. And then Belgium stayed a little bit and they dropped. So there's not big movement within the market. Anything that you want to add on to your outrights, or are you riding out your outright futures? Because I'm keeping mine as is.
Yeah, so I'm riding. So just a quick recap of what I have. It's Turkey to not advance, Mbappe Golden Boot winner, and then Portugal to win the Euros. So I'm happy with where I sit.
Yeah, and you got that at plus 900. That's now sitting at plus 750. So that's looking good, especially with the 3 goals today, because getting that top spot in the group could pay big dividends.
Mm-hmm.
All right, best bets time. As we alluded to, AJ and Joey B swept. Joey B, check him out on Twitter. He'll be tweeting his plays out for this week. AJ and I will be coming at you with some bangers. So I took an L on the Switzerland money line. They just dropped the ball for 3 minutes, and that it is what it is against Wales. They found one there. And then the Denmark-Finland over 2.25. I had a chance to half lose a loss there, but of course they saved the penalty. But I'm not going to complain about that one. I was surprised the match continued, and then never in doubt, winner today with the Hungary Portugal over 2.5.
Yeah, never a doubt for that one. So recap for me, I had Italy team total over 1.5. They scored 3, and Belgium Russia over 2.5. I think Lukaku scored the 3rd goal in like the 85th minute. So thank you, Lukaku.
Oh yeah, love to hear you say that. So I got 3 plays coming at you. First one's coming at tomorrow at noon. I'm going with Wales on the pick, the draw no bet at plus 127. The plus 0.25 just ended up being a little too juicy for me. And this is more of a fade Turkey play than anything else. I don't want to say semi-high on Turkey, but I definitely thought they were a side that we could see advance. This one's being played in Baku, and Wales does not have travel for this one. I believe Turkey does, since they're coming from Rome, yes, they're coming from Rome. So that's just kind of where Wales on the pick at plus 127. The draw could be the better player because we're not going to see a bunch of goals. I'm just hoping that Wales ultimately pulls out a 1-0 winner, potentially 1-1 match here. I just think the value's on the dog here because I definitely see it being a draw. The minus 125 is too juicy for me. It is what it is. Play the plus 0.25 and get the half win if they do end up drawing. But I do like Wales to pull it out tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree. I think Wales are kind of riding high after that 3-minute period against Switzerland where they got their goal. And I also like Wales to finish above Turkey in this group, and this is a crucial match for them. So I do see them at least getting some result here. My first play, going chronological order, would be England-Scotland. So Under J is back for these Euros. I have under 1 in the first half, sits at minus 105. Reason I like this, I think it's going to be a very tense match. Obviously, these countries, I wouldn't necessarily say rivals, but they have a ton of history. Obviously, location, proximity is very close to each other, so a lot of energy. So I do expect teams to kind of play defensive in the first half. Trends show that first halves in these Euros have been very low scoring, and I think worst case scenario, we see one team bag one for a push, but I ultimately do see a 0-0 first half.
I think all of the pressure is on England in this match because they can't draw here. That would be my only concern for it. But as we alluded to a little bit earlier in the show, I think Scotland's going to be able to withstand at least for the first half. It's going to be when do they potentially crack? Will they pull out a Sweden or are they going to pull out a Turkey/Hungary? So that's just where Scotland, man, I just hope they don't end up bagging it first, especially in the first half, because that one could be dusted quick. But yeah, as you alluded to, I mean, the first half draws have been coming through pretty frequently. That's been cashing out. And then the first half under one has definitely been there. I believe only two matches or only one match you probably would have busted, and then the other one you would have pushed. So the first half under one, if you can get that, especially at -105, I like that there. And you like England's defense. I don't like England's defense, but I think they will be able to contain Scotland, even though I think they do break through.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So on Friday, I mean, I think a team that had the highs of their highs and it could get much lower real quick is the Czech Republic. I mean, Schick's goal, that was just unreal. So I saw something that most players don't attempt that shot because of how high the goalie's out. The defense is completely out of position as well, so you could potentially control and get an easier shot. But, man, the curve on that shot, that was unreal. And I just think Croatia here sitting at +120 is too good of a price just because the Czech, they were very susceptible, and their goalie Vlasic was the reason why that Schick was able to pull out that banger to basically end the game there. And he still stood on his head later. And if they're going to give up those type of chances, this is where, to Scotland, this is where I definitely think Croatia can definitely find the back of the net here. And I'm just not confident that Schick is their only goal scorer up top. We saw that in the last match. I wasn't too convinced by anybody else up top to potentially get there. So that's just where with Croatia on the money line at +120, 3 points is a must here for them. No way into the capping. I just think Croatia's the much better side here. Sure, they're going to maybe sit back, and I don't think they're going to sit back as much as they did against England. They're definitely going to bring it to them a little bit more, but Croatia likes when the other team has a little bit more possession, and I think the Czech Republic could potentially play into it, and Croatia will catch them on the counter. So at +120, I really like this Croatia play.
Dang, the more we talk about it, or I guess the more you talk about it, the more I'm enticed to tell you on this one. I also do think Croatia need points from this one, especially all 3 points, and this could be a potential letdown spot for the Czech Republic. Perfect. So on to my second play. I'll lead into this one because I know Rex also has a play on this match. It's going to be Portugal, Germany, both teams to score. Yes, sits at a little juicy -120. I know Rex doesn't like the juice, but I'm not afraid of it. I just think Germany, I mean, you got shut out against France at home. You need something to show in this group going against Portugal. And I also think Portugal are a very strong side. My other play that I was looking on this one was over 2.5. But I was worried about getting that third goal, but I definitely do see both teams getting on the score sheet on this one.
And I do not agree with that one. I think this is the first time that I'm not saying that I don't think Germany definitely finds the back of the net. It's just, yes, France's defense is that strong, but I think you were the one who said they should play Havertz as kind of their false nine instead of playing Warner up top, and that's what it looked like they started with today. So shout out to you for calling that. But Germany, I don't just really think had that many dangerous chances. They had the free kicks, and then the one where I think it was Gnarby blew it over the thing, came off like a broken player off a broken clearance. So it was just, I just didn't see any promise to that. And sure, Hungary had some great chances against this Portugal defense, but I'm all in on Portugal on this one. I love the +0.25 at -115. So there's my juice for you, AJ. That one really hurt because I'm loving the money line at +220 as well. I can say I did sprinkle on the money line already. I do have a full unit on the +0.25. I'm just all over this Portugal side because sure, they got 3 late ones, but that's the momentum. That's the convincing that they need it, where they can see that they can grind out and break out a team. I don't think Germany's going to sit as back as they did, because they know that what the talent that they do in the midfield and up the top, they can get on the backs of Portugal, which I don't think were the strongest today. But I do think Portugal comes out a result here. What does make me a little nervous is this match is in Germany. Yeah, it's in the same stadium where it was on the last one. Not saying VAR both called them right, but I definitely do think that was a little help from the side there. So I do potentially see a draw coming here. So that's why at the plus 0.25 at minus 115. That's why I love this play for this weekend. The money line at plus 220 is definitely worth the sprinkle on it as well. I just think we see Portugal. Hey, I'd hope it's a 2-1 win, 3-1 win, whatever way we both get us to cash there, AJ. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, all my futures are for Portugal winning the Euros, guys. So then I can't say I'm not against them, but I just think, I mean, Germany just got shut out at home. You're playing at home again. I do expect them to at least bag one. Okay, you say there weren't many chances. I just feel like the
quality chances, I guess, is the better way to phrase it.
Yeah, it's just they had good possession. They just couldn't get through Varane and Conte in that low block sort of deal that France was playing. With Portugal, you have a little bit more, I wouldn't say necessarily freedom in the midfield. I just don't think Portugal's midfield is as strong as France's is. So I think Germany might have some more quality chances. And I do think Timo Werner either getting the start, coming on earlier, will help open up the game for both sides.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky. I'm just making one last check to see if the odds up. It's out there. AJ, I didn't want to bet this, but I really want to bet this, and I'm so glad we got to this at the end of the show. Talk me off the ledge here.
Go for it. What are you thinking?
Germany to not advance at plus 350.
Oh, jeez. So this is how you see it going down: is Portugal take all 3 points in their next match, so that it's hungry Germany in that final match.
And then I think I could potentially just play the German money line, or depending what the price is, and hedge out of it. But at plus 350, I mean, that's where I would have to hope that the other groups eat each other up, and that 3 is there, and Portugal does the business to them this weekend. I don't think the plus 350 is great value.
No,
so that's probably one of the reasons why, if I saw like a plus 560, that would definitely get me to jump, or a plus 500. But yeah, that's where it's just, I was waiting for those odds to refresh after the match. But the now at plus 3, just let it be known that it's going to be me having to completely stop closing out my app to play it.
Yeah, I just think, like you said, I don't think there's that much value on it. I think if you wanted to attack it, a better way would be like to parlay Portugal money line and then maybe Hungary on the goal line or something like that.
I could probably do that already because they have the lines all the way out. But yeah, the plus, I mean, I do have some money on the Portugal money line plus 220. Let's not try to be greedy, but that is the play that I've been dying for. And then if anyone's watching, or if anyone does end up watching later and you want to hook me up with a Thursday play or talk to me something that you're convinced with on that day, just can't find a play there. I tried to get one for each day, but I got 3 of the 4 days covered for you.
Perfect. And then I have one last play. So each of us have 3. This is unusual for me, but this last one I really, really like. It's kind of square. It's pretty close to 2 units. I might throw a little extra on it. It's just France minus 1.5 against Hungary, sits at minus 105. I saw the way Hungary played today. It's very defensive. I think Pogba and France will get out, get their goals. France are very strong defensive. I don't really see Hungary scoring. I could see this being 2-0, 3-0, 3-1 at like worst. My only real concern is a letdown spot from beating Germany at home. And then you have a look-ahead spot with Portugal that could potentially decide the group. So I don't know how attacking France wants to be. So that would be the side I don't like of it. But I just think against a low ball, Paul Pogba playing the way he is, Mbappe wants to score, Benzema wants to make his mark. We see goals in that one for France.
Yeah, because you got to over 2.5 juiced at minus 130, which is definitely liking your play there because they're just not convinced it's going to be a 2-0 win. That's where it looked like the books had it lined at for the prior match against Hungary versus against Portugal, but I can't knock this play. I definitely like that one a lot. Yeah, I don't think Hungary get on the score sheet here. And, it was the reasoning why I played the over today is because, France wants to make up that little bit of a goal differential. They already saw Portugal put up 3. And I don't think Hungary can withstand as long as they did it, against Portugal like they will against France because, they just have too many different options. And I don't know if you're watching, but, man, those Hungary backs are pretty damn slow. And that's just not a good sign. I mean, the Germany players weren't much faster, but I can guarantee you the Hungary players were much slower. So that's just where the minus 1.5. I mean, I think this could be 2-0 at half easy. So I definitely do like that play a lot.
Perfect.
All right, so let's recap our bets. So you already recapped your futures. I'll do mine real quick. Croatia winning the group at 0.25, looking potentially dead, but let's go Scotland. Let's get this back alive. Slovakia to advance sitting at plus 180. It's looking nice since it's now sitting at minus 400. And then Croatia at plus 4,000 to win it all. Not worried about that yet because the 1-0 loss was kind of what I expected going into it. Plays for this weekend, we got Wales pick plus 127, Croatia money line plus 120, and then we got Portugal plus 0.25 at minus 115, and the Portugal money line at plus 220.
Perfect. And I also have a 3-pack for you guys. I have England, Scotland under 1 in the first half, Portugal, Germany, both teams to score yes, and France minus 1.5.
All right, and that's going to wrap us up for the Euro 2020. I still can't believe we have to say it. Group stage 2 for your bets for the rest of the week. Come Saturday or Sunday morning, we'll give you an episode or a tweeted episode of our plays coming up for the group stage 3. Jump back a few seconds if you just joined to recap if you want to hear our best bets. But as usual, thank you for all tuning in. Brought to you by thebreakdownsports.com. Let's see if AJ and Joey B can stay on fire. Let's keep sweeping the board, fellas.